Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. The Girl I Met in the Train. Part 10. Hi friends, hand waving. This the 10th part of the story. So if you haven't read the first parts, please do, so that the story would make sense. You can easily find the previous parts on my profile. Just click on my profile, J0HNWIKK, above the title. I hope you will read them hugging face. I always wanted to do this late night walk with her. Our class finishes at around 7 in the evening. I really wanted to walk by her side at least once. Just me and her. In the evening. Walking by the sidewalk. After class. Paradise. In the beginning we used to go in opposite directions after class, but later I started to go in her direction. I could go to my home through her way home, even though I had to walk a bit more than my previous route. After class, Remy and Selena used to walk in front of us, keeping a good distance from me and Mike. I wanted to walk beside her, but I don't think they were in favor of my idea. They used to leave the class first, and before we got down the stairs they would have already started walking. After a few months Mike stopped coming for tuition. He was lazy and his transportation after class was a bit difficult. I was really hoping for that day to come when she would walk beside me. I asked my close friends for expert advice, but none of them had any. All my friends were single. It's not because they never tried. It's because nobody was interested. Whenever one of my friends develops a crush for someone, they approach me for advice. To this day I never really understood why. I'm a positive guy. So when they give me hints about the way she talks with them, behaves around them, or even look at them, I convince them that their crush loves them too. I talk in such a way that they believe every word I say. With the confidence they get from my talks, they express their feelings and ends up getting their heart broken. Even after failing the first time, they come to me again when they develop a crush on someone else. I want to believe in the thing called love, and I want my friends to be with their crushes, and I always give them a positive sign. I think the reason why they come to me is because usually I don't leak their information about their crushes, and I talk in a way like a love guru does. I talk like a person who knows how things work. So I decided to ask help from Google and YouTube. I think most of the people do it nowadays. Just type the words, "how to know if a girl has a crush on you," and the internet gives a lot of advices, signs and much more. I watched quite a lot of those videos and looked for those signs from her behavior. If she makes fun of you. If she walks really close to you while walking together, touching you. If she laughs at your jokes. If she copies your style. If she acts a bit weird around you. Ladies and gents, according to the internet, that girl has a crush on you. She did make fun of me few times. Very few times. I did see her laughing at some of my jokes. I don't think she copied my style. Actually, I don't know how to figure that out. I think she acts a bit weird around me, but to be honest I don't know how she acts normally. Around other people. It was my first day after Mike stopped the tuition. Actually, it was kind of a blessing. Teacher asked me to sit with them. As usual, Selena sits next to me. The three of us had a nice time. After class they got down first. I got down only after a minute, and I was surprised to see them waiting for me. I slowly walked towards them and I thought to myself, tonight is the night, and it was. I was walking in the middle. Remy was in my left side and Selena was in my right side. A dude walking in our opposite direction looked at me in an angry and jealous way. He was like, "Who is this lucky ugly?" Censored. Single quote. I wanted to tell to him it is not what it looks like. We started walking together. side by side. And I was kind of shivering in a small way. I don't think anybody would notice it. Anyways, they didn't. It was not the evening cool breeze that made my body act in such a way. Remy was walking so close to me and our hands were touching. I tried to move to the side but still we made contact. They both were excitedly talking about something and I don't even know what it was. She was leaning towards me and I was just focusing on her. I was lost in the moment. I was just looking at her as we walked. She looked prettier every step we took. I felt like we took 1,000 steps. This walk together just lasted a minute, but I guess time moves slowly when you are with the person you love. We reached Selena's home and wished her a good night. It was just me and Remy after that till we reached her home, just the two of us. Stars were watching. Night was getting colder. Love was in the air and spotlight was on me. Will be continued. This is a true story, so please don't expect something filmy. Cold sweat smile. Thank you for reading. Your feedbacks are valuable. DM or comment. It doesn't matter. Give an upvote if you liked it. I will see you friends soon. Black Heart. End of story. Next story. That one time I killed someone's dog. This story is true. Unfortunately. It was 1998. I was 8 years old when one day my mom had arrived home from the grocery store. As I get outside I can hear my mom screaming. I rush toward her when I see her with an arm full of groceries, kicking at what looks like a small chihuahua. The dog was vicious. Chihuahuas are small but can be quite vicious. I run over and scare the dog away as she runs back inside. The dog had bit and gnawed her ankle up. My mom was bleeding. As my dad was tending to my mother's ankle, he said, "I'm going to kill that damn dog." Turns out this was our next-door neighbor's dog. We and other neighbors in the community have had problems with this little monster. The dog's name was Daisy. After helping my mom, my dad walked over to our neighbor to tell them what happened. The neighbor basically spat back that her dog has been home the entire day and it simply wasn't possible. Daisy couldn't have done this, she said. Impossible. She lied. My dad called the police, but there wasn't anything they would or could do. It was messed up. I was always a mischievous child. I was constantly getting into trouble while growing up. I was a child who had a kind heart but loved trouble. I had constant ideas, and when I had a light bulb moment I would obsess over the idea until it was completed. Before I get too far into the story, I need to explain what my parents did for a living. It's important. Mainly my mom. My mom was a wedding planner. Our basement was always filled with helium tanks and all kinds of equipment. Basically a party city in my basement. It was always a cool place. Even though I wasn't ever allowed down there. It was a Saturday and my mom and dad were gone for the weekend. This was incredibly rare. I couldn't wait to take advantage of the opportunity with unlimited playing time for 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. It was going to be the best weekend ever. But things were about to quickly change. I found myself looking out my window into the neighbor's lawn when my eyes met Daisy the monster. I began thinking about how much I hated that dog. That is when it happened. A light bulb moment hit me. I had the craziest idea. The idea now had a hold of me. I immediately went to work. I shut off 007 GoldenEye and headed to the basement. I made my way over to the helium tanks and began filling up balloon after balloon. I put about 15 to 20 feet of balloon lining on each balloon and tied them together at the bottom. I even tied more balloons halfway up the original lines, creating what looked like layers of balloons, and tied them all together. I spent hours filling and tying the balloons. By the time I was done, I had filled the basement with hundreds of balloons. I never counted, but it was a lot. After I was done, I was careful not to pop any balloons as I pulled all of the balloons through the sliding glass door into our backyard. By this time it was just starting to get dark. I could feel the balloons lift as my arm felt like it was being pulled upwards. I took a rock bigger than my head and placed it on the knot tying all the balloons together. This kept it grounded. I then went over to our fence and called Daisy over. She was barking a lot and wouldn't come. I started giving her treats we had for our dog. It worked. She was warming up to me now. She was even letting me touch her. I reached through the fence and pulled Daisy into my backyard. I kept feeding her treats, which helped keep her quiet and busy. I wasted no time. I took about 2 feet of nylon kite string and tied it to the knot of balloons. The other end was tied to the Chihuahua's body harness. When I moved the rock off of the balloon knot, wow! The balloons shot Daisy up into the air with ease. It was unbelievable. I obviously used way too many balloons. I watched until Daisy was very small and the barking was barely heard. Then I couldn't hear Daisy at all. The barking was gone. Daisy was gone. The gravity of what I had just done started to set in. I felt really bad. I had become a monster just like Daisy. I remembered thinking. I cried so much. I didn't want Daisy to die. I never really thought that far ahead. I never thought of the repercussions. It was an impulsive act as a child that I could never reverse. Fast forward to Sunday night and my father gets home. He immediately notices that something is wrong with me. Me and my dad are very close and I could talk to him about anything. I finally tell him what happened. He laughs and thinks I'm joking. At first I tell him I'm serious over and over. He becomes slightly annoyed and tells me to be quiet. Then that very night there is a knock at the door. I can hear my dad answer the door from my bedroom. It's the neighbor. Oh no. Does she know it was me? I was panicked but I kept listening. She was crying. She basically asked my dad if he had seen Daisy because she's been missing since Saturday night. I hear him pause for a moment. Then he says, "No, I haven't seen Daisy." He explains he just arrived home from business only an hour ago. She then asks if maybe I had seen him. My dad calls me over to the front door. I'm so scared I can feel my face getting hot. My dad is standing holding the door open with a look of sheer horror on his face. She asks again if I'd seen Daisy. I quickly tell her no. I tell her I've been inside all weekend. She cries as she leaves and thanks us for our time. When my dad closes the door, he looks at me with his eyes wide open. He tells me he can't believe what I did. He's in shock. Then he told me something I will never forget. He tells me, "Never tell anyone about this. Not your mother or anyone else. Not ever. This is a secret between us," he said. I never did tell anyone. Daisy was never found. I still wonder what became of Daisy to this very day. I'm so sorry, Daisy. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.